Okay, I just wanted to talk to people about virtual reality and the reason why it has taken so long to to bring VR to a level that is acceptable um, to the world, and that there's still challenges. The major when this stuff came about, when people start to realize that they could use their cell phone to experience virtual reality, people didn't know how to configure the application, what's called a driver application, to make it work. Um, they didn't know that they had to install a piece of software available in the Google App Store or from the Apple iPhone store to make it work. Um, they would get the applications that would give them the roller coaster ride or whatever it was that they would want to experience with their cell phone. You needed three pieces of things to make that work, and the one major part that is needed to make it work so that it doesn't make you sick is the specification, the projection necessary for the headset. And the way they get that is through a QR code, those little square codes that people you aim your cell phone at and usually give you links to websites. In this case, it was going to specify the kind of projection necessary um, for the Google Driver app. And the driver, that's a common name used in computer science to to it's a term that's used often whenever you're trying to make a game or something work with a piece of hardware. You need a driver in between, and the driver deals with um, it permits the game to know as little as it needs to about the hardware that you're using. Okay, so that the game developers don't have to design for every piece of hardware that's out there that would provide you the stuff necessary to permit you to actually experience the VR reality. In this case, the foot in the door, and the people that were behind this was Google. Google was trying to kickstart the virtual reality parade, the train that everybody was going to get on and experience VR for the first time that everybody could, and that was something called Google Cardboard. And all it was is a headset, the minimalistic design of a VR headset, just the headset part, not the controllers. They didn't provide that. All they provided was the headset and a very limited method by which to interact with the VR content. But all it was supposed to be a foot in the door. It wasn't meant to be an all out solution. It was meant to be a foot in the door to get people onto the platform as easily as possible so they could see that it works, and then hopefully they would like it enough that they would want to have a better experience, and that would lead them to buy, say, an Oculus Quest. And Google had a more polished VR headset called the Daydream. And the difference between the Daydream and what people were getting, like the Google Cardboard or those plastic headsets you found in your grocery store that were selling for $20, the difference between them and the Daydream, which was $100, was the Daydream delivered the basic headset and then a little controller that would permit you to select options inside of the VR experience. Nobody really bought into the Daydream. They never got to the Oculus Quest. They got to that little VR Google Cardboard or plastic headset, and they tried to play the games on them. They got the Google Driver app because it was required by the game, and they played it, and the the projection distortion was different for every single different headset. I mean, the distortion was the same, but the lenses were distorted in a different way to make the lenses cheap. And because of that, um, they would have to provide a QR code. Some of the headsets provided the QR code, some of them didn't. And the ones that didn't are the ones that made people sick because they were supposed to provide with that headset the projection specific to those lenses so that the Google Driver app would have a consistency in the look and feel as any of the other headsets that had the QR codes with them. If the QR code was not provided, then the projection would be incorrect. And this is the reason why people were getting sick using these VR headsets. And that sickness and the potential of triggering migraines or even causing somebody to go into epileptic shock, and even to not have proper warning ahead of time to let people know that you're going to sit down in this experience. You're not going to be standing up because it'll make you dizzy. And so, because of the whole slew of problems associated with this initial foot in the door of technology, it Google's unveiling of this stuff and getting all these manufacturers involved backfired on them, and it soured people's perception of VR. Oculus is fixing this. Meta's fixing this. Um, they're they're presenting the proper VR experience, and that is to have two controllers and a VR headset, and the VR headset to have cameras on it that can read the room and figure out where your head is within the room or within respect to content in the 3D space. So things are more consistent between the reality and the virtual reality. And having that added level has changed people's perception of VR. And now there are about 3 million owners of Oculus headsets out there. It's going to turn around. It's turning around fast, but not fast enough. And there are still problems, like in the way of video games, they require you to use your arms. What if you don't have all your arms? I mean, what if you're bound to a wheelchair? They don't ask those questions. They're limiting their audience by not asking these questions and not answering them, not researching, not marketing. They're limiting the audience. And so they need to deal with accessibility issues. They need to think about using controllers as well as using arms. But the game developers are not well versed, and the thing that Oculus is doing is making it really easy for people to make video games. And so people are making video games with Unity, then they're throwing them up on their shop, the Oculus Meta shop, where people download and use these VR apps, and it is inconsistent with the quality of games that you would get elsewhere that are not VR. So there's a lot of hurdles, and the developers need to think more about the playability of their games, not about how immersive they are. Immersivity will only matter if if you've got all your limbs and you can stand in a VR experience. Not all people can. If you're an older person, you have a higher tendency to lose balance in a VR experience, and challenge that can ruin your life. That could kill you. And also, if you're playing a game like Beat Saber and children are entering the square of your active space, you could very easily hit one of your children just the wrong way and paralyze them. So people are not really prepared to deal with the things that are important to dealing with VR. They need to think a bit more about where they do their VR experience, and there also a great potential for there to be spaces that people can rent out for people that want a unfettered VR experience, one where they're not going to run into a dog or a child or their significant other, their wife, girlfriend, that are or boyfriend or whatever, that they're not going to um, there isn't a potential that it can harm someone's life. And you think, well, what was the worst that could happen to someone? I had a friend in college. Her name was Elaine Lucero, and she walked around with two sticks. And what caused the partial paralysis of her was that she was waiting for a bus on a street. She was waiting for a bus, and somebody on a bicycle came by, and I guess was to in order to maintain their balance, they pushed on her, and they figured that pushing on her probably wouldn't hurt her, but in fact, it hit her in just the right way in the back of the head that paralyzed her. It set her for 10 years of doubt and depression, of, from her 20s to 30s. Woe is me, I'm not ever going to be able to do the things I wanted to do. She had taken judo. So judo is the martial art that's involved with controlled falls. It had no effect. It hit her unexpected. She didn't know how to respond to it, and it debilitated her. This can happen with VR as easily. Just have to fall in the right way. And it can happen to anybody, but there's going to be a greater chance it can happen in VR. And so having a fettered environment, and even relying on the system to the guardian system to protect you from running into walls is kind of wishful thinking. People are still ruining their controllers. They're slamming their hands into walls that would destroy the controller, and then that will set them back about $60 because that's how much it costs for a new hand controller. And so, what happens then if they destroy their controller? What can they control the headset with? How about a game controller? How about that you make games that you can control with a game controller, have the VR headset, not necessarily that it be used completely sixed off, 6 degrees of freedom, moving in space as well as rotating your head. Same with the hand controllers. There's sixed off on all of those on the controllers and the headset. The original VR headset people were trying out, the Google Cardboards, only had something called 3 dot. That means you could only rotate your head, but it didn't read the room, so it couldn't provide movement through a 3D space, which is necessary to have a complete immersive experience. And so, in general, they need to spend more time thinking about the games, thinking about the applications of this technology, thinking about how people could use them, um, learning of the ways that this could hurt the population. It might not hurt the population to an amount that would really ruin the experience, but it could set them back having to pay for certain lawsuits as a result of not warning their user base enough about how things could fail. And that's really the only reason why I provide this recording. And I might have to do it again. I'll do a shorter version. Um, so yeah, VR is coming. There are some people that want way too much of it. There are some people that are satisfied with what exists. And there are the companies in between who are eager to develop they're eager to make a lot of money. And in that, they're going to corrupt other applications of VR headsets, such as in the case of the Go line for Oculus. Um, was it necessary for them to dump the Go line, the Oculus Goes? Was there a reason for it? Should they communicate to people, possibly if it was the lithium ion battery on the headset, were they afraid that it might explode on somebody's head? Was that the reason? They should make those things known if there is a concern there. Because I've got some Goes and I use them for Minecraft. But yeah, you can sideload Minecraft. It comes from the Samsung Gear, I think it is. From their platform, they had a VR platform, and Minecraft was made for the Gear, but it was not made for the Quest. But the two are binary compatible, so it's easy just to sideload the application onto the Quest, and then, or not the Quest, the Go, and then to play Minecraft on the go, which is a fantastic experience. It does not cause the headset to overheat. Um, it doesn't crash like all the. It doesn't have the limitation. It doesn't cause the battery to lose its power quickly, like a Unity app does. And so it makes. And the other thing is, there's some people they're never going to use sick stuff. There are people who are paralyzed that could make use of the Go line, because with the Go line, what was really necessary? The absolute moving the head wasn't necessary. The capacity to move the controller, and where did you move the controller? You didn't move the controller anywhere because it was 3 DoF. You only rotated it. It was little more than a laser pointer inside of the VR experience. It was enough to get a lot of things done. And if you're paralyzed and you've got to go on an Oculus Go, you can go into alt space and meet with people and move around in the space without ever moving in reality. And it's completely immersive. And why did they get rid of it? Because their marketing staff doesn't use their technology. They were marketing the technology. They were not really using it. They were not understanding what they had. I'm willing to bet that this is the biggest problem with technology today, is that the people that make it have no experience with it. They just sell it. They don't, and I can understand why, because with my Rock Me Amadeus site, I don't really want to know what people have a problem with. But then again, I'm not selling it to people. I'm just making it for myself. And it's really more of a confidence thing on my part if people use it or not. So, anyhow, I'm going to cut this video here.